There you go.
Dan, how are you?
I'm doing good. How about you, Paul?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here. I mean, but what better way to spend a great Saturday with a great, awesome, badass actor? You know what I mean?
Well, thank you for the compliment. That's very kind of you.
There you go. So again, welcome to the show here. Before we start, I have to give you a proper welcome, proper intro. If you have seen some of my episodes before, you know exactly what I'm about to do. If not, that's even better because then I can surprise you. So let me just show you.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
Pretty bad.
That's a big crowd.
Huh?
I didn't know we had so many followers. That's a really big crowd.
I mean, you know how it goes. I mean, we're still growing, but at some point we're gonna have live audience. You can count on that.
Amazing.
Perfect. So starting with the whole interview now. Tell me how your acting career started.
I thought about this a lot. I get asked this a lot by everyone and anyone, and I feel like the first time I ever even thought about acting is when I watched actors on television. Before I ever saw a movie, I was a little kid, and my mom or my grandmother would watch soap operas during the day. And I would watch these actors and just think, wow, how are they doing this? How, they have to have every single, gesture and facial movements like synced up with what they're doing. And I just, at a very early age, I must have been 6, 7, 8 years old, watching them on TV and thinking, wow, that is just so fascinating. I think that was my first, introduction or my first interest in acting, where that sparked. And from there, I always had that in me, and I would watch movies and just take them apart and think, what are these actors thinking? And just, I guess it was very strange to do at a very young age.
Yeah.
But that's who I was, and that's how I really started to think about acting. And it wasn't until I had a few things here and there. I think I was 8 years old when I did a fashion show, that my teachers basically made me do. It was nothing that I pursued or anything like that. And I think it was much later. I didn't take the traditional actor's career path. I didn't have the formal training in school, or I didn't go to college for any acting or anything like that. I thought that, hey, let's just do this. And so my first acting gigs, I would say, were ads that I answered on Craigslist looking for an actor. And I felt that because I didn't take that traditional actor path, the education, the formal education, I didn't consider myself an actor. Even after my first paid acting gig, I felt the guilt of not getting that traditional education. And looking back, I feel that I was a little too hard on myself. And I guess when I first really called myself an actor, I had a consistent acting gig. I had done some commercial work. I had done some movie work, film, TV, but my first consistent gig was actually a commercial gig for Walmart, which had been a 3-year contract. Where every 2 weeks we would film a new commercial. And it wasn't until then, even though I had, tremendous skills and tremendous education on my own, that is, I had taken acting classes. I had read books. I educated myself, basically. it wasn't until then that I really considered myself an actor, and that was in the early 2000s. I think that was 2005. But I mean, it by that time, looking back now, I realized that I was a very highly skilled actor. Otherwise, an international brand like Walmart wouldn't have hired me to represent them. So I was definitely very hard on myself, and I still am very hard on myself. I immediately feel the guilt if I miss a class, or if I don't practice a script 1 week. I immediately get down on myself, and I think that is actually part of my success. I think my drive. Even though I do put a lot of guilt on myself, and I think that's part of my drive, and part of my success is to really, push myself. Because if I'm not pushing myself, no one else is going to be pushing me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So.
And back in 2007, you were in Henry V. Was one of your was that like one of your first projects? And what can you remember from those first experiences?
No. I had so many different projects going on. I mean, the everything listed on IMDb is just basically the tip of the iceberg. Because I had been acting, I think, before IMDb was a thing,
Yeah.
And so I had credits before then, not to date myself, but I had credits before them that were really spectacular projects that hadn't been, credited on there. But my earliest work, I think, way back to one of my Craigslist ads. It was called Walking the Dog, and I remember having to do a Boston accent in this.
Okay.
And it was something that I'd never experienced before. I'd never done an accent before. I had really researched the Boston accent by watching movies like Good Will Hunting.
Okay.
and things such as that. And I had some Boston friends that I talked to, and I had specifically a friend that I had, a really good friend that I had met in my undergrad, and he had moved to Boston. So he had that unique perspective on being immersed in the middle of, the Boston accent, surrounded by Bostonians. So he gave me a great perspective. And what he said was, the Boston accent is basically, you know everything there is to know in the world, and you don't care who knows about it. So it's an arrogance, and it is it's a way of life. It's not just doing an accent, it's the personality behind it, the confidence and the capability to do anything and everything. So I took the approach with the accent, not only to embody someone who had been born and raised in the Boston area, but I focused on not doing an accent, just being the person,
Okay.
And it came out in a way where, like, if you were watching a movie and someone has an accent but is not trying to do an accent, you think to yourself, wait a minute, where's that person from? Is that an American actor doing British accent? Is that a British actor doing an American accent? So it kind of came out like that, and it wasn't distracting at all. So at the end of one of our premieres, a person in the audience came up to me, and you know, we had like a meet and greet, and they said, so you know, where in Boston were you born? You know, and that's when I knew I did a good job. You know,
totally.
So yeah.
Yeah, but I find it so interesting about for example with the accents that sometimes as you were saying that they are British actors and they will do American accent, and it's so interesting when you realize that they're actually from London or someplace like that, and you're like, what, you know? And it's so.
But there's always that one word that they can't master, right? One American word that they just like, and then like you hear that and your brain, something clicks on in your brain. It's like, wait a minute, where is that person from?
Totally. Yeah, like the other day I was seeing that, for example, that Christian Bale, you know, that he's from the UK, and I was seeing this interview, and then they were saying that he was from the UK. Nobody believed it. It was like, what?
I know.
You know, like you were actually British. You know?
Yeah.
That's
exactly.
so cool.
Yeah,
that's so cool. Now, how you prepare for this character creation?
Right. Yeah. So as I was saying, I'll get the script, I'll read it through a few times, and just kind of use a little imagination, a little substitution. You know, how can I relate personally to this character? How am I? And you know, most of the scripts I'm getting now, luckily, are from people who know me, people who not only know who I am, but you know, my life and what I've been through. So they know that I would normally be a good match for these characters. So I'm very fortunate with that. And I will figure out, and you know, if I have a character who I've gone through something similar, it really helps to connect with that character by tapping into those feelings and those experiences that I went through in the past. And a lot of times, you know, it's tough to do because we're all human. We've all gone through some heartbreak and pain and loss and just really horrible stuff that we've gotten through and come out on the other side of. But with acting, of course, you often characters have to tap back into those feelings and relive them, and that's why I don't think actors get enough of a break for you know, especially celebrities who act out in public. You know, not to excuse anyone for any behavior, negative behavior, of course, but I feel that you know, actors don't get much of a break because basically it's their job to oftentimes go back and relive the pain and heartbreak and terrible loss in their lives to really put life behind these characters. And that's a lot of what I do. And I will, you know, referring back to the Boston accent character that I had to do, you know, I'll immerse myself in that and really do the research and really study up and take as much time as I need to create these characters and to really put some background behind these characters and put some emotion and some real true life human experience into the character.
Totally.
Yeah.
And from being in projects such as I'm Not Sorry, Assault on VA33, Christmas Princess, Witch Hunt, Asher, Bananas Play. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But like, tell me, what do you think it's important for storytelling? Like on your journey so far, what do you think is important?
I mean, it's interesting that you mentioned storytelling. So not a lot of people know that my day job is working at a cancer hospital here in Buffalo, New York. Okay. And my job is I run a program called Life Recorded. And my job is specifically to record the stories and lives of our patients. And I, I'm not only doing that, but my past, I was an English teacher for 20 years, teaching storytelling, teaching script writing. And I think, not only is it so relevant to acting, but storytelling itself is a huge passion of mine, and I've really modeled my life around storytelling. So to be able to not only teach it, but live it really with acting, and be able to give it as a gift to our patients where I work is, I consider myself very fortunate to be able to be living the life that I'm living. So, storytelling is just a huge part of my life. Now, storytelling and acting, you mentioned Assault on VA 33. There's another great character, Sergeant Johnny Fregosi. He was captured by the Russians, and he was being tortured for information. So as a soldier, I immediately went to the soldiers in my life. My brother served, my father served, and I actually had to ask my brother. There were a couple of inaccuracies, I thought, at least in the script, as far as what and how to reveal your information when you're captured. So I had to verify that with my brother, and he set me straight and said that you're right, that you have to say this and that, and that's all you can say. So I got with the director and told him that, and he had actually corrected it in the script because of that. And I got most of the insight for that character from my cousin, who is a Medal of Honor recipient.
Wow. Okay.
He's an incredible human being. His name is David Bellavia. Shout out to David. I love him so much. He wrote a book called House to House, and I reread that for this role. I also talked to him about my character. He gave me a few tips and pointers here and there, but really immersing yourself in the character and doing that research, I think, is the most important part. At least for me, it works for me. To do that research and talk to people who have lived those lives, and really, just embrace that, and don't be afraid to ask stupid questions, or questions that you think might be a little too sensitive. My cousin has really been through a lot. He did 4 separate tours in Iraq, and
wow.
Everything that he went through. Obviously, to receive the Medal of Honor, he went through a lot of stuff, but I always felt like I could ask him anything. We've always been very open with each other. We were raised together. We were a very close family, and I'm very fortunate to have those relationships in my life where I can ask people and get information that I need for people in order to live those lives on screen in those characters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow, that is so cool.
Yeah.
Now you also got the experience to work with Jeff Goldblum, right? That's
yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. How incredible. Jeff, what an incredible human being. What you see on the screen is Jeff Goldblum in real life, but times 10, because he's such an incredible, kind, caring, loving individual. the first time I met him was we were in the staging area, in like craft service area, and we were having lunch before we filmed the scene. And normally with big time actors, A-list actors, you're not going to see them until the scene comes,
Yeah.
and they're in their own dressing room, doing their own thing, they're preparing, they're whatever, they're in separate areas. But Jeff, within the first hour or two that I arrived, he came to the craft services area and introduced himself to everybody. He was just so personable and so gracious. And it happened to be a old shut down school that we were filming at. So we had our staging area in the gymnasium, which also served as an auditorium. So there was a piano there. So he immediately, after meeting everybody, sat down at the piano and started playing and singing.
Oh, cool.
I mean, he's such an incredible person. And I don't know if you know, but he actually tours with his own band. He's a pianist, and he loves, he's a jazz musician. So he's always touring with his own band. And it's so incredible. He just was playing and singing, and we were singing along with him. It was like a family reunion almost.
So cool. Yeah.
So incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
actually, when we got on set, we, in between takes, normally, as I said, if an A-list actor is if you're doing a scene with an A-list actor, that actor is going to, when they say cut, they're going to go back to the dressing room or off to the side or just in a separate area, so nobody bothers them, basically. But Jeff, not at all. He was talking to me, and he memorized my name from the first time I told it to him. He just, hey Paul, Spitale, right? Spitale, yeah, you remind me of a friend of mine, and blah blah blah. He was just going on and on and on.
Yeah.
He showed me pictures of his new baby at the time.
Wow.
It was just, what an incredible person. And he made you feel at ease, because there's that nervousness of working with someone as huge as Jeff Goldblum, where I'm not thinking about what I'm doing or what I'm saying in the scene. I'm just thinking, holy crap, Jeff Goldblum, the entire time. But he made me feel at ease, like an old friend, and I could put my nervousness aside and be in the scene, be in the moment. And it was beautiful. Yeah. Such an incredible person.
So cool. Such an epic experience, though. That's so
Epic.
amazing. How cool. And if you could describe a movie in which all of the characters that you have played at the moment will gather for a party, tell me, what will be the name of that film?
Wow. That's a cool question, man. I would call it Hanging with the Spitales.
I like that.
Kind of like hanging with the Coopers, but just like a sitcom. And we're all sitting together. Because I do a lot of serious movies, a lot of drama-based movies, but comedy is just the best, and that's what I would want it to be. Get all the characters getting together and just cutting each other up. I think it would be pretty amazing. So
cool. Yeah, that would be. Yeah. Actually, that sounds like a sitcom instead of a movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
Exactly.
That. I like that. And if you could describe your career on a movie, TV show, book, a play, even a musical, why not? What would be the title of it?
I guess I would call it Trust the Path. Trust your gut. I think that I had too much self-doubt for too long in my initial stages of my journey in acting. Looking back, when I finally trusted myself and trusted my gut, that's when my acting career really blossomed and bloomed. So I would call it trust your gut.
Yeah. And what about if you could describe your career in a drink? Which one would you choose?
My career in a drink would be a beautiful. It would be a 20-year-old single malt Scotch, and I think it would just be so smooth and so calming and so delightful. I'm a Scotch guy, so
I mean, you are.
You know, it has a lot to do with who I am too. You know, I'm a very calm and calculated person. Even though I didn't, like I mentioned before, didn't get that acting education that I should have gotten, I do have an education. You know, I got my bachelor's in psychology and was a counselor for a while, and I got my master's in teaching, and I was a teacher for a while, as I mentioned, and then I got my PhD in education, and I was a researcher for a while, and it's all led me to this point right now, where everything that I kind of put together in my life has really complemented my career.
Yeah, Scotch. You know, I haven't drank Scotch in a while. I might get a drink later on. That sounds cool. I love Scotch too. And
you can't go wrong with a good Scotch.
Huh?
You can't go wrong with a good Scotch.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like, what motivates you? You know, we all have those days in which, we are not sure, you know, if we should continue or not. We will be questioning ourselves. I mean, getting into all of those thoughts, it's super easy, right? But what gets you out of it? You know, what pulls you out of it, of all of those thoughts, so you can continue pursuing the thing that you love the most?
Yeah. Great question. That's an easy one for me. Right now, my son motivates me the most. He was born a little over a year ago. Yeah. And ever since, I really have shifted focus in my life, and most of my focus has been on him right now. And I want him to understand how difficult life is, but if you make the right decisions, and if you, again, in fact, go with your gut, and trust yourself, that things will fall into place for you. My son is my biggest motivation right now. He's just so incredible, such an incredible being, and I want to make sure that I make him proud by setting the example and modeling my life in a way where he has no fear in trusting himself and taking the path that he wants to take, despite anybody or anything that might be in his way.
Totally. Yeah, and it is interesting. For example, with my generation, they told us this idea in which you can conquer. You can do whatever you want. You can conquer everything. The world will be at your, basically on your hands, and all of that. And what ended up happening, especially for me, is that when you stop school and then you finish college, and then you finally are into the real world, then you started to realize that it's not like that. And it was challenging. At least for me, it was super challenging, because I was like, I was really frustrated, because what about like all of these things they told me? There was a point in which I actually believed them, and now it's you actually realize that at the end of the day, the world doesn't care. Basically, you have to do your own thing. You need to work hard. Yes, there are gonna be days in which you want to quit, but I do think that when you're having those days, if you continue pushing, you will get results. And I think that you will get even better reward. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when we're growing up, you see, like, you know, I grew up with MTV, and I thought I was going to be a rock star one day.
Yeah.
You know, I immediately was hit with the reality that wasn't going to happen, and you know, just had to shift focus, and you know, I did feel that kind of misled, I guess.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, but everything turned out for the best, though.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. And like my last question here is, what can we expect from you in the future?
Well, I mean, I'm always working. I just churned out a few voiceovers this past week. I'm always auditioning, and I also have a great film community that I'm a part of. So specifically, one of the film teams that I work with a lot, it's called Pizza Dog Studios, and we well, basically we started with creating shorts for the 48-hour film festival, if you're familiar. We started out by doing that, but we worked and we won some great awards, and we still do it every year.
Yeah.
But we worked so well together that we started doing stuff on our own, and creating different films and series. One of the series that we created is a comedy series called Cloyd, and it follows the life of a musician, David Cloyd, and everything that that musicians face, basically, to try and make it, I guess. Oh, yeah. So a lot of real life stuff is going into that, and yeah, so definitely watch out for Pizza Dog Studios in the future. Yeah. There
you go. That is so cool, Paul. I mean, at the end of the day, what can I say, man? I mean, you're killing it here. The fact that you have done so many things now, and that you have worked with so many talented people, and that you're still doing it, you know, that regardless, you're still doing it. That is super inspiring, and that is super awesome. And I do think that we need more people like you that can actually show us that at the end of the day, you can make it happen. But of course, there is this hard work behind that you really need to do, that you really need to prepare. And also, what you were saying about actors, I mean, I do think that at the end of the day, kind of actors are kind of the superheroes of this thing that we call life. The reason why is because regardless of how difficult your personal life is at that moment, when it's time to perform, you put that away in order to give us your best performance into like whatever you're performing. If you're performing comedy, for example, but at that moment you have like the worst moment of your life, the fact that you can put that away to give us your 100%, I mean, besides being professional, I mean, that takes like a lot of courage, you know. And I do believe that at least with the audience, we should appreciate more about you actors, because at the end of the day, you're human, you know, you're the same as us, and I do think sometimes that with the audience we might be a little bit harsh on criticizing a film, and then the audience will go straight to the actors, when sometimes, you know, actors don't even have, they just did their job and that's it, you know. So there's a lot of things here that I've discovered, at least for me, on my experience with this podcast, you know, like there's so many things behind that I used to know back then before starting to do this. And hey, I mean, I want to thank you for giving me the time to make this happen. I mean, as I was saying, you're a total badass here. I'm super sure that eventually we're gonna hear you worldwide, because you are honest with it and you're doing what you like. And as simple as it might sound, I do know that it takes years and sometimes even decades for someone to finally do something that they're like. In fact, you're doing it. That is super inspiring, man. So
I appreciate that, Dan. I mean, yeah, it's a lot of hard work, you know, and a lot goes into it. And as long as you're pushing yourself and keeping yourself going and keeping yourself motivated. There's no stopping you. And I want to thank you for having me, and thank you for giving actors like us a platform like this. Honestly, it's we need more people like you, who are just honest and open, and are really curious about the field, and what an incredible experience. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you. Now, before I send you off, I also want to thank those watching this either here on Instagram later, or on YouTube, or listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Make sure that you're following all of social media. Normally, what I would say is for you to follow him. You already do fantastic. What we're going to do now is that we're going to make him viral, make sure everybody knows about this amazing, talented actor. And Paul, before I send you off, you know what's coming. I send you off again properly in an epic way. So.
I love it.
And keep killing it, keeping awesome, and I'll see you in the next one.
All right, sounds great, Dan.
Have a good one,
Thank you so much. You too.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.